Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome back to another exciting coffee hour. All right, another exciting episode. We have some beef happening at the national level, right? On the on the world stage. This is absolutely crazy, right? We started off the day with such great positive news, and of course, Murphy's Law would happen, and now we have two very big behemoths who love to use social media just going at each other's throats. So, regardless of the politics involved, it's so funny. It's just getting absolutely silly out there. So anyways, we're going to be covering a little bit about Trump, and we're going to be talking about Elon. We're going to be talking a little bit about Tesla. We'll be talking a little bit about AI, right? There was actually some interesting things that came out that I was not aware of. So we'll be talking a little bit about that one big beautiful bill and kind of talking about some AI things that were in there, right? So we'll be talking a little bit about Palantir, and we got some crypto news at the very end. I don't think this stream will be that long today. This whole week has been kind of like steady Eddie. There hasn't really been a lot of spicy news, and I don't want to waste your guys' time. But I see we have a chat. Blade, hey, welcome to the chat. What a soap opera we're living in. That is 100% fact, my friend. That is 100% fact. It is absolutely silly what is going on right now. Anyways, guys, let's hop into the portfolio. Okay, this is just a portfolio at a high level. No major changes. I did make 2 new buys. I announced it in the Discord, but I will cover all of that at the very end. We are sitting right now at 500. Let's see. I didn't even do the math, so excuse me. So I think I'm down $20,000, which is nice, but I think this needs to update because it should be a little bit more after today's drop. But hey, it is what it is. We'll just keep on keeping on, right? Blade says he bought a ton of Tessie, TSYY, and Tsla from YieldMax and even TSLL. Man, you are a wild person. You are absolutely crazy. I always say, and it's funny, I just made a video and I mentioned from Rec Shares, I mentioned the TSII, right? And I said that the Elon factor is what causes the volatility for Tesla. That's it. They're like fundamentally great company, doing lots of big things, a lot of future, future prospects, etc. But that Elon factor is what causes that stock to be so volatile. I would almost pair it as volatile as Bitcoin at this point because you just never know what's going to happen. I don't know if Elon knows that he's doing this on purpose, but man, I am sure a lot of shareholders are not happy. Anyways, let's get into it. All right, guys. So we had investor survey go out. What was it? I keep calling it the All American. But anyways, the American Association of Individual Investors, they just published their results. What direction do all AAI members feel the stock market will be in the next 6 months? And this, of course, just came out. And look at that. It is basically identical from the last week. I think a lot of people are just waiting to see what's going to happen. We had, a really good, a really good jobs report that came out. So we had that come out. We had some other, economic data come out. And now, again, the Fed is still paralyzed. They don't know what to do. We don't know if we're going to be having rate cuts this year or not. It was at 2, right? It was possibility for 2 rate cuts. Then, it bumped up a little bit to 3 rate cuts, and now we're back to 1, right? Inflation has come down so much. We think we're only going to get 1 rate cut this year. I think it was Bostic or Waller had mentioned in one of their speeches earlier this week that, the possibility for a rate cut is this year is seeming just more likely to be 1. So we'll see again. We will see. Again, the economy is still showing like mixed signals. It's like doing very well, weaker in some areas. What is the Fed to do, right? What is the Fed to do? Inflation has come down. It's just absolutely crazy. But anyways, yeah, again, what direction? It seems like it's the same from last week, so no changes here. The secret or the special question was how would you describe the current state of the economy? And again, mixed. So this was funny. It's mixed, right? Some say it's good. Some were saying it's lousy. But a mixed bag is probably more appropriate in my opinion. So I see we got Alex in the chat. Hey, what's up, man? Welcome back. Sauce Maker, part of the old guard. He said he upped his TSYY and TSII today. You are crazy. You're just as crazy as Blade. All right. I can't touch anything related to Tesla. I don't have the mental fortitude for that. All right, guys, let's move into the segments. All right, first up is going to be Trump speaking with Xi. All right, will resume talks between the United States and China over tariffs. So, there's a lot leading up to this over the week. Basically, this came down to China not lifting the rare earth metals, restriction. And then we said, all right, fine, we're going to clap back. We're not going to accept any of your students. And we're going to hold a lot of your the chip design software from being exported. And, we're still not going to be releasing semiconductors to you guys, right? So there was all this tit for tat. It seems like the trade negotiations that happened in Geneva with Scott Bessent and Jonathan Greer seemed to just, completely fall apart. So it took the president to speak with, the president of China to come to an actual conclusion on what, is going on. And, there was some speculation out that there's probably, especially, with China being China, right? There's probably some information that was not making its way through the proper channels up to President Xi. But, hopefully this conversation between Trump and Xi, now they're on the same level playing field. Everyone knows where everyone's at and what they want. So hopefully these trade negotiations can continue, right? But this was positive news. This was the best news to come out for the day, all right? So President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke Thursday and agreed that officials from the U.S. and China will meet soon for talks to resolve the ongoing trade war. All right, Trump said he had a very good call with Xi for about 90 minutes, which focused almost entirely on trade. The call resulted in very positive conclusion for both countries. All right, so this was really good. All right, now I thought this was just funny. This is kind of like a small little win for China. Beijing's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and China's embassy in the U.S. earlier said Thursday that Trump had requested the call with Xi. All right, because again, you have two of the biggest egos out there, and they don't want to look weak in front of their publics. So, it's funny that China would publish something like this, right? Saying that, oh, no, Trump came to us, right? He's the one who folded first. And this is where the whole, kind of taco thing comes out. Trump always chickens out. So this is just funny. Again, this is just politics on a global stage. After Thursday call, Trump wrote, there should be no longer be any questions respecting the complexity of rare earth products. Again, there was some trade rep, I forget his name. He was on CNBC saying that basically they're trying to get magnets. I didn't know magnets was that important to U.S. trade or U.S. economy or whatever, or national security. But apparently magnets was the big one. So we're now getting magnets, or hopefully getting magnets soon. Maybe it's for a rail gun or something. But anyways, moving on, we're going to watch just a clip of Tesla. All right. And then we're going to get into the whole segment of, Tesla and Elon. So buckle in, guys. All right, here we go.
Musk going head-to-head with President Trump. Shareholders taking that in a bad way. Musk tweeting that Trump would have lost the election without his support. Here now for more is Tesla bull. That's how you're being described out of Dan Ives of Wedbush.
This is the first time I've ever seen Dan Ives without like a flamboyant like overcoat or something, or even a shirt. Like this seems like very chill. Like he usually has like some tropical, like colorful shirt on. So anyways, I like Dan Ives. I like following what he has. Actually, he's going to come up later in this segment. He is launching a brand new AI ETF. So I wanted to dig more into that. So I'll have more info on that. But right now, let's stick to this.
You just launched the Ives ETF, which I haven't had a chance to congratulate you on. But so let's talk about why Tesla shares are down so much on the spat between him and the president.
I mean, there's a view that the battle here going on between Musk and Trump, that this is going to continue to sort of, increase. And what that ultimately does is that autonomous and the regulatory vision, does Trump now not start to play nice in the sandbox with Musk?
I see.
So it really comes down to a big piece here is saying, does this beef between Musk and Trump actually continue to increase? And then the positive things you expected from an autonomous perspective and regulatory, now that's off the table because of what's happening here.
Right. So it's not so much about the.
So again, because, Musk and Trump are beefing, this could have some deeper impacts, especially with the broader market or the broader regulatory compliance sector, because right now there is like hey, we're on good terms, we're on good friends, Tesla wants to do autonomous robots. They want to do all this crazy stuff. Okay, we can deregulate that area. But I think even though personally, I think the beef between these two, I don't think that's going to change Trump because he wants, more deregulation for anything related to AI, and robotics is certainly part of it, right? So I could see that this is not going to really change the Trump administration's, kind of direction. Now, they will probably, depending on how bad it gets, they will probably find other things to take from them, government subsidies or just anything like that. Maybe even pull some contracts, of course, pull contracts from Tesla.
EV mandate, which, as our last guest suggested, was always most likely to go away, and is, as Musk said, it's not even what he was, if we take him at his word, focused on in the bill. But you're saying, look, this is what people were worried about a couple months ago, that if Musk was too close to the administration, they would just do his bidding in terms of autonomous. And we had the video this week that was released of the pedestrian fatality, which is raising questions once again about whether their camera-based technology is the superior way to go, or enough of a way to go versus LiDAR that it should be kind of broadly rolled out. So at the very moment that that's in the spotlight, here goes Elon Musk from the administration, potentially with the administration's ire.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is obviously very head-scratching in terms of Musk just going aggressively, right, in terms of the shot across the bow. And obviously, next week, you have the launch of Cybercab robotaxis in Austin. So look, friends fight. So again, I think this is not one that you could basically say this is going to continue to get worse and worse. But clearly, there's a line in the sand here. Musk has taken a stance. But I think the broader view, the reason Tesla stock's off the way it is, and I think overdone, is because the view that this means that Trump is not going to play nice when it comes to regulatory, autonomous, and a big part of the view that was going to be a huge positive. And I still believe it is for Musk and Tesla.
Why do you not think there's an increase? Let's say the market today is only increasing the chance that the regulation is not as friendly as it was 5 days ago. Do you think that's worth 9% on the share price?
No, I mean, I think this is a stock that, I mean, I could argue could be down a little. And it's my view that, like, if you're a believer in autonomous, like we are in robotics, this is a $2 trillion market cap in terms of Tesla. But the view that you went from basically first buddy in terms of Musk with Trump in the White House, Mar-a-Lago, and now they're doing this fight over social media. It's not what you want to see as a Tesla shareholder. And you saw with Trump, I think Trump's obviously a little taken aback that Musk has taken this much of a stance. But again, this is one where there can be a lot more chapters to the story. I don't think it's done right here.
Is there a...
Yeah, again, I don't think it's done right here either. I mean, Musk is very outspoken. I mean, we have some Tesla bulls in the chat, I'm sure, or even in the community or people watching the stream. We have a ton of, Tesla people who just like, they're voting more or they're buying the shares more on, the jock than they are the actual pony. People just, they believe in Elon Musk. But he has always kind of been outspoken when it comes into the politics, side of the house. So again, this is going to be a rocky ride for anyone in anything related to Tesla, whether you're in cover call ETFs, freaking leveraged long ETFs, which I hope some of you guys are being very responsible with, or if you're just a Tesla shareholder, right? Anything related to Tesla is going to be rocky. It's just the way it is. I mean, Elon Musk just, sometimes he doesn't know when enough is enough, and he always just keeps going. But that's also what makes him such a great entrepreneur, is that he doesn't back down, even when there's overwhelmingly a lot of uncertainty. So again, good thing for Elon, but again, it's reflecting really bad in the share price. All right, so moving on. Tesla lost $152 billion in market cap after Musk Trump spat. All right, biggest hit ever. So I went to bed. Market was green. President Xi and Trump had their talk, and it was all good, right? Everything was great, and then woke up and just completely got cooked, right? Completely got cooked. Portfolio down quite a bit. And, I come to find out that it was because Trump and Elon Musk are beefing, right? And that beef led to $152 billion market cap loss within a couple of hours. You guys saw here, that it was hovering at like $302, and I think now it's like at $280 something last I checked. So let's just take a quick look. All right, shares of Tesla fell 14% on Thursday as President Donald Trump threatened to pull government contracts for CEO Elon Musk companies. This is from his rocket company, probably XAI and probably anything else, right? A Tesla for sure. He also has Starlink, which I know for a fact has government contracts because, I worked for the government and we worked, on something related to Starlink. So I know there's government contracts there. But you also have, it's just a lot of stuff going for Elon. He is pretty much tied into the government. Plus there's this whole, revamping of the airports and that they were planning to use Starlink for a lot of this because, the telco companies, AT&T, Verizon, I think it's mostly just Verizon that owns some of these bigger contracts. They were failing pretty bad. So, Starlink is like, okay, well, we can come in and take care of all that. But anyways, the move dropped the EV maker $152 billion in value, the biggest hit to its market cap ever, putting it below the $1 trillion benchmark and settling Thursday at $916 billion. So that is pretty crazy. All right. ST7 Sengo says I got cooked also, but he's DCAing all the way. Excellent. All right. So, this just continues to go on and talking about, Musk and Trump fighting and, pulling of the government contracts. This is going to get really ugly for Elon Musk and really ugly for Tesla shareholders, because even though, Starlink is not, under the Tesla brand, realistically speaking, it is under the Elon brand. And whenever the Elon brand takes a hit, all of his companies are going to suffer in some way, shape, or form. XAI, you have Tesla, you have the Boring Company, you have Starlink, all of these companies are going to take a hit in one way or the other. So, yeah, let's see what else happens. All right. So we have another article. Elon Musk says SpaceX, and that's the other one I was thinking of. It didn't come to mind, but SpaceX is a big one, right? Will decommission its Dragon spacecraft after the Trump threat, right? So after Trump said, you know what, I'm just going to pull all those government contracts from Elon. Elon went out and said, you know what, don't even worry about it because I'm going to just cancel the thing myself, right? So I don't know if this has really happened. Again, this is a tit for tat. They're just, it's a bunch of rhetoric. It's probably saber rattling between both of these people. But Elon Musk says SpaceX will decommission the Dragon spacecraft after the Trump threat. This is the Dragon spacecraft. This is the thing that is, been making a lot of waves, especially for, NASA being one of them. Elon Musk on Thursday said his company SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately because of threats by President Donald Trump to cancel government contracts with Musk's business. Musk's announcement on his social media site X came amid an escalating war of the words with Trump that began after the Tesla CEO criticized the major tax bill being pushed by the Republican president. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately, wrote Musk, right? So this is crazy, right? Again, I understand finance and politics, they intersect quite a bit, okay? The one big beautiful bill, the OBB, right? It's supposed to increase the U.S. spend or deficit by another $3 trillion, right? Which is absolutely crazy. $1 trillion of which is going to defense spending. So whether you like that or not, entirely up to you. I'm not here to persuade you or anything like that. But Elon Musk obviously did not like that. He's been very vocal about this. This is why he spent so much time at Doge. And now, look at it from his perspective. You do all this work at Doge. You find all this, basically government waste. You send it to Congress. They didn't do anything up until that point, right? They haven't canceled any of those contracts. They haven't stopped any of that outflow of money or that wasteful spend. Only recently, within this week, I believe I saw an article saying that President Donald Trump had, urged Congress to move ahead with, canceling all that stuff. But you do all of this work only for a new bill to come out that says, hey, we're going to add another $3 trillion onto the U.S. debt, right? So obviously, Elon Musk is very ticked with this because the whole point of Doge was, to basically help the taxpayer, right? So Love them or hate them, that's basically what the narrative is. That's basically what the story is, right? Dragon is the only U.S. option for delivering crew to and from the International Space Station. A Dragon capsule brought NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams back to Earth in March after the pair were stranded for months at the ISS by a Boeing Starliner. All right, Boeing obviously took a hit to this, to their reputation, because they couldn't get another Starliner up there to get them for months. So, Elon Musk went in with Dragon and basically picked them up. I think within it was like a couple of weeks or something, like within like a month or something. More recently, a Dragon craft delivered 6,700 pounds of crew supply, science investigations, and equipment to the ISS on April 22nd. All right, so again, NASA is one of those big ones that work very closely with SpaceX. Some people say SpaceX is the new NASA. I don't know about that, but NASA is not going away. But again, this could be a big problem for SpaceX because, what do you have if not your contract with NASA, right? Like, what do you really have? So canceling that and probably any of the other projects that they have could be a huge hit to just Elon Musk, his brand, and his companies. So again, more to come from this. Again, Dan Ives talking about, hey, friends fight. We'll see what happens. Cooler heads will probably prevail. Someone will talk to Trump. Someone will talk to Elon, say, guys, not right now. You guys can spat this out later, just not right now. So anyways, moving on. We got a little bit of news for Broadcom. So you guys know Broadcom, I try to follow as much as possible, but Broadcom had their earnings today. Is it today or a Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah, they had their earnings on Thursday, right? So Broadcom reported second quarter earnings for Thursday and beat Wall Street expectations, provided robust guidance for the current quarter. All right, so let's take a look. Broadcom reported the second earnings. They beat Wall Street expectations, and the chip maker provided robust guidance for the current period. All right, $1.58 for EPS, all right, adjusted versus the $1.56 that was expected. So they beat there. Revenue, $15 billion versus the $14.99 billion. Come on. Come on. But anyways, Broadcom said it expected $15.8 billion in the third quarter revenue versus the $15.7 billion expected by Wall Street analysts. All right, revenue in the latest quarter rose 20% on an annual basis. The company instituted a 10-for-1 stock split a year ago. I didn't know that, so I just wanted to put that in there. Broadcom shares are up 12% this year after more than doubling last year on investor optimism for the company's custom chips for artificial intelligence. All right, in March, Broadcom CEO Hock Tan said it was developing AI chips with three of the largest cloud customers, or with three hyperscalers, basically. And you guys know these hyperscalers. You have Amazon, Google, Meta's in there as well. All right. At Google and Microsoft, Microsoft's in there as well. All right, we can continue to make excellent progress on the multi-year journey of enabling our three customers and four prospects to deploy custom AI accelerators. Tan said, adding that the partners are unwavering in their plans to invest in AI infrastructure. Okay, I always talk about this AI infrastructure, this data center demand. It's going to be here for the next 4 to 10 years. As a matter of fact, we're going to get into a very spicy article that covers this. All right. Broadcom said they had $4.4 billion in AI revenue during the quarter, attributing the sales to its networking parts that connect complicated server clusters. Tan said in a statement that Broadcom expects $5.1 billion in AI chip sales in the third quarter, adding that the company hyperscale partners continue to invest. Those big hyperscalers I just mentioned, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Again, you could throw Meta in there as well because they also purchase a lot of custom chips. But I don't know if they're purchasing it directly from Broadcom, to be honest. Tan said in, let's see. Yeah, so hyperscalers are companies that build out large cloud systems to rent out to their own customers. They include Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So again, I always talked about, this if you're going to look outside of the Mag 7, I'm personally looking at Broadcom. I think Broadcom is a great company. They've been killing it. They've been killing it for years. They have several mergers and acquisitions, things I didn't even know about. They bought cybersecurity companies. They bought, switch networking companies. And Broadcom, again, is in a lot of different networking devices. Your simple Linksys switches. You have Ethernet. You have a ton of different things that Broadcom is involved with. And now they've been breaching into the whole custom AI chip thing. You have several of these hyperscalers that want their own custom chips because they don't want to go to NVIDIA. but NVIDIA already came out with this game changer, licensing thing where it's like you can have your custom ASIC chips and they can interact and interoperate with NVIDIA, hardware and software. So again, I think just NVIDIA is killing it on that front. But a lot of these hyperscalers want to develop their own, chips for their own, particular AI, language learning models. But again, it's like, you got to pay so much money. You got to go this whole route of hardware design, engineering, and sink all this money in when you could just buy it from NVIDIA. But of course, companies are still trying to do it. They're still trying to find a way to get around NVIDIA. And, Broadcom is one of those companies that produces those custom chips. So we'll see how this continues to go. So I found this global semiconductor market set to grow about 11% in 2025, hitting $700 billion. All right. And this is per the World Semiconductor Trade Statistics. The continued expansion is largely driven by strong performance in the logic and memory segments, both projected to see double-digit gains, supported by sustained demands in areas such as artificial intelligence, cloud infrastructure, and advanced consumer electronics. All right, other segments include sensors analog, which, those are going to be used probably in robotics more so than anything. Those really like special sensors, touchy-feely, that type of stuff, temperature, all that kind of stuff. Demand for AI chips and applications is soaring as companies invest billions to maintain a competitive edge in the race for dominance. Regionally, the Americas and Asia Pacific are set to lead the growth with anticipated growth rates of 18% and 9.8% respectively. So, China and North America, right? The largest consumer of semiconductors, again, bullish on the semiconductor space because it's really a layer right before artificial intelligence. When you think of, software, you're going to need the chips, you're going to need the custom hardware, you're going to need all that stuff. So really semiconductors is right under that. So you have China, you have Huawei, you have all of their, that whole economy that's also starting to move towards, artificial intelligence. They're developing their own language learning models. China's trying to compete with the United States on a global stage. And of course, America is trying to maintain its AI dominance and, make sure it stays that way. So again, I'm very bullish on the semiconductor space, and one of the ETFs I have is Chippy from YieldMax, CHPY. If you're interested in taking a look, you can also look at SMH from Van Eck, right? And there's also another one, SOXQ, all right? So SOXQ is another semiconductor-specific ETF, right? These ETFs basically invest in semiconductor companies. Of course, do your own due diligence, all right? So moving on, we're going to look at just a 30-second clip of Dan Ives. This guy was on a total run today, so I just had to watch all of his videos.
I was so excited to be launching, here with you, Frank. Look, around the globe, investors are always asking, how do you play the AI theme? What are the ways to play it? And this is an ETF. It's based on our research. The AI Ives 30, and really showing it's not just about Mag 7. It's about the second, third, fourth derivatives.
Boom, third, fourth derivatives. There we go, right under the Mag 7, right? Look for other areas of opportunity that are going to play on the AI thesis, right? That are going to play on the AI piece. All right, semiconductors, in my opinion, a big piece of that, okay? Looking outside of the Mag 7, you still have big players like Palantir, right? They've been on an absolute rip. You have now Broadcom, it's going to be in the spotlight. I swear. It's going to be like the new Mag 10 or something, whatever they're going to call this, right? Oracle's probably going to be up there. I really think, you're going to have Taiwan Semiconductor up there. You're going to have all these other, secondary and tertiary layers of companies supporting these, Mag 7, these language learning models, et cetera, right? SMCI, Supermicro. I don't believe in the company, but it's all the hype and it's all the rage, but Supermicro, SMCI could potentially have a big comeback because of their partnership with, NVIDIA. You have data centers like CoreWeave. Again, just IPO'd this year, up 68% year to date. Absolutely crazy, all right? So again, if you want to take advantage of this whole AI thesis play, you look for other opportunities outside of the Mag 7. I recommend, some of these names, Broadcom, you have Oracle, you have Taiwan Semiconductor. You can even throw Palantir in the mix if you'd like. You have AMD. I think AMD is still, probably a good play on this. They're growing and they're growing fast. They're looking for other ways to bring AI under their fold, and their chips are going to be in demand, especially with this whole, Middle Eastern tour that they just had.
Playing out in this fourth industrial revolution. It's a golden age for AI just beginning.
All right, we want to talk more.
Golden age for AI, right? This is the fourth industrial revolution, whatever you want to call it, right? You had the railways, you had the actual industrial revolution, then you had the information, and now this is the AI age, right? So this is getting crazy, guys. Again, let's look at what is in the big, beautiful bill that scared the living crap out of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And again, I'm not here to bash, okay? I'm not here to bring politics into this channel, but there was something very interesting that I thought everybody on this stream should know, and hopefully just be aware of this, all right? Oh, come on. Let's get that out of the way. All right, conservative firebrand rep, MTG, Republican of Georgia, is facing backlash from Democrats after saying she wouldn't have voted in favor of President Donald Trump's tax and domestic policy bill if she'd known about the artificial intelligence provisions included in it. All right. The bill, which passed by the party line vote in the House on May 22nd, includes a provision that prohibits states from enforcing any law or regulation, limiting, restricting, or otherwise regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems entered into interstate commerce for a 10-year period. All right. This would be a huge tailwind for people who are holding Tesla. All right, this would be a huge tailwind for anything related to artificial intelligence, especially with that Optimus bot or any type of robotics company. This is huge, guys. I didn't even know this was included in the one big beautiful bill. Like, I'm actually very surprised. I've never read the thing, of course, but it also goes to show that our elected, representatives aren't also reading this thing. But anyways, it is crazy to see that they don't want anyone to touch anything AI related for a 10-year period. All right. It's just crazy. And again, collectively, all right, I'm not just the only one, but collectively, a lot of people who are following this AI thesis, they talk about this 4 to 10-year period, right? It's a Wealthy Life. Dan is also with us. He always talks about 10 years, right? This is the next 10 years. This is going to be the bull run for the next 10 years. That's because like this right now, we are still in its infancy, right? We already had the whole scare earlier this year where people were saying data centers are cooked, get out of data centers, get out of NVIDIA. NVIDIA is cooked. The AI bubble popped. We had DeepSeek come out from China. It's a done deal. Like this is a nothing burger, right? Artificial intelligence, nothing. But you have it in a bill saying that they want to limit any regulation for the next 10 years. Again, this is huge. This is huge news. So I don't think people are really aware of this piece. I think once this really gets fleshed out later, and once it's going to get passed, in my opinion, once it gets passed, it's going to be hands off, right? So much innovation is going to come from all these AI companies, all these companies pursuing artificial intelligence. It's just going to get wild. So anyways, moving on, we got Palantir in the news. All right. So Palantir CEO denies New York Times report on data collection. All right. CEO Alex Karp denied allegations from a New York Times article last week that said his company was tapped by the Trump administration to compile a master list of personal information on Americans. All right. Karp said the company is not surveying Americans when asked about the article. I don't know about that one, but we'll continue. The recently published article by the New York Times is blatantly untrue, the Post reads. Palantir never collects data to unlawfully survey Americans, and our Foundry platform employs granular security protections. If the fact were on its side, the New York Times would not have needed to twist the truth, all right? The New York Times said the Denver-based Palantir might be the company tapped to handle the U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order that called for the federal government to merge information and data across its agencies. All right, the claim was made as Palantir continues to secure more government contracts. Again, that was a huge one. That's what sent Palantir basically flying, but now it looks like it came back down to earth. Again, Palantir is that company. It is the premier artificial intelligence company. It's going to be adopted more and more by commercial, all right, healthcare, government, finances, or the financial sector, education, it's going to get adopted more and more. I could see this thing really, I could see Palantir really being way more in demand, just as NVIDIA is in the future. Just my opinions, of course. All right. During the interview with CNBC, Karp also highlighted the importance of U.S. dominating the artificial intelligence race. Again, there's something happening on the bigger stage in the world. The U.S. is trying to maintain its hegemony, its global dominance in every way, shape, and form, and that includes artificial intelligence, right? That's why we're moving all of this manufacturing of semiconductors to the United States, right? TSM is the biggest one, Taiwan Semiconductors. ASML, even though it's a Netherlands-based company, you know, it moves to the beat and drum of the United States, all right? You also have just we basically cornered the market. The United States has basically cornered the market for semiconductors. That's why China is making such big riffs about, hey, you need to lift up the restrictions on semiconductors. We need those semiconductors, right? And then tit for tat, hey, we need rare earth metals. We need magnets, apparently. So it's just getting it, like, look at it on a bigger stage, right? Look at it on a global stage. It is getting crazy. His general bias on AI is it's dangerous, Karp said. There are positives and negative consequences, and either we win or China will win. There is no economy in the world with this kind of corporate leadership, which is willing to pivot, which understands technologies, which is willing to look at new things, but also has a deep domain expertise. All right. He said our allies in the West and Europe are going to have to learn from us. You can't teach innovation. That's just the truth. You can't teach innovation. So this is why there's a lot of, corporate espionage, basically by, rival countries to steal designs, to steal engineering works, to steal basically products and services, to copy products and services. It is just what it is. The United States is just very innovative. And I believe exactly this, our allies, people in Europe, et cetera, they're not going to be able to pick this up. They can't. I mean, they're just not going to, in my opinion, of course. So anyways, moving on, AI infrastructure continues to mount as Amazon announces a $10 billion data center project. The build out of artificial intelligence infrastructure continues as Amazon announced today it is investing $10 billion to expand its data center footprint in North Carolina. This is its AWS, Amazon Web Services footprint. All right, this is probably one of Amazon's biggest money makers is the AWS platform. All right, Amazon's $10 billion investment in North Carolina underscores their commitment to driving innovation and advancing the future of cloud computing and AI tech. All right, said David Zabolski, Amazon's Chief Global Affairs and Legal Officer. This investment will position North Carolina as a hub for cutting-edge technology, create hundreds of high-skilled jobs, and drive significant economic growth. All right, so if anyone's buying real estate out there, probably a good time. I don't know. I know North Carolina. I know the Sun Belt has actually been hit pretty hard with high insurance rates. But anyways, the number of large data centers, and I thought this was interesting fact, right? The number of large data centers operated by hyperscalers provided increased to 1,136 by the end of 2024. As a total has more than doubled since 2019, according to the Synergy Research Group. The research firm expects this number to keep growing by 130 to 140 each year for the foreseeable future, i.e. data center demand. Okay. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, the hyperscalers, are the leading cloud providers. The U.S. currently contains 54% of global data center capacity, according to Synergy data. It's going to get larger, right? You have Stargate, they're building out a bunch of stuff. You have new data centers, coming online. Like it's going to just get larger here in the United States. China ranks as second with 16%. Europe houses 15%. Historically, the average size of new data centers was increasing gradually, but this trend has become supercharged in the last few quarters as companies build out AI-oriented infrastructure, said John Dinsdale, a chief analyst at Synergy Research Group. All right, so it's going to get crazy, guys. Like this is just going to get crazy. Data center demand is always going to be there. Again, next 10 years. That is something that you could buy into, if you believe in the whole AI thesis. If you want to play on the AI thesis, you can get into something like a CoreWeave. There's also REITs out there. You have Digital Realty Trust, you have Equinix, EQIX, and DLR respectively. So there's other ways to play in AI without actually having to buy, some of these, larger companies, things like Microsoft, Google, or Amazon, and then people are hoping for an IPO from OpenAI. I think that would be absolute baller, but I don't think that that's ever really going to happen. Walmart was in the news, and I just thought this was interesting, so I'm just including it in the stream, right? Walmart plans to expand drone deliveries to 3 more states. All right, Walmart said it will expand drone deliveries to customers from 100 stores in Atlanta, Charlotte, Houston, Orlando, and Tampa within the coming year. Customers can already get items by drone delivery in parts of Northwest Arkansas and Dallas-Fort Worth, all right, in Texas. Walmart and Amazon's expansion of drones has been slow growing and ambitious goals, but just a modest delivery footprint so far. So they're basically trying to compete with Amazon. Amazon and Walmart, they're just two big competitors for each other, right? Especially the retail, right? Just specifically the retail. You have Amazon's logistics infrastructure. I mean, it's one of the best in the world. You can't beat that infrastructure. Walmart is trying to compete on that scale, right? They're trying to compete for convenience. So, this is why they're going the drone route, because they don't need to do deliveries and so on and so forth. Of course, this will probably be for smaller packages. You're not going to get a couch, drone lifted to you. But again, this is just interesting for any Walmart holders or any people thinking about investing in Walmart. I think this is a very interesting kind of strategy that they're trying to take, because again, they're playing on the convenience of stuff. This is Amazon's whole shtick, is like everything is instant, everything is convenient, everything is fast. 1-day delivery, 2-day delivery, Amazon Prime, you get everything instant, right? Buy now button. Actually, there's a whole thing about the buy now button, right? But everything is all about convenience and instance, right? Just getting things you want immediately. So Walmart has, a really, really big footprint. I mean, they got a couple thousand stores in the United States, and these are huge, huge stores. But I don't know if this drone stuff is really gonna really bump the stock up or really bump them up to compete with Amazon, but we'll see. I mean, this drone stuff is interesting. I haven't been in the United States in a long time. It's been a while since I've seen what everything looks like. I can't imagine all these drones flying all over the place, dropping packages off, right? So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Walmart does. All right, this one was a big news, especially for the crypto space. Stablecoin issuer Circle soars 168% in the debut after pricing IPO above expected range. All right, I saw the Circle IPO. I didn't really know too much about Circle. Did a little bit of reading about it, but it's not something I personally wanted to get into. They have a partnership with Coinbase for, I believe, USDC, which is a stable coin pegged to the US dollar. But they have a couple things going for them. Shares of Circle Internet Group soared 168% on Thursday after the stablecoin company and its selling shareholders raised almost $1.1 billion in an initial public offering. The stock opened at $69 on the New York Stock Exchange after its IPO, priced at $31. All right, at one point the shares traded as high as 103. That is so freaking crazy. I think my mouse just died. Oh, there we go. Okay. So anyway, Circle joins Coinbase, Mara Holdings, and Riot Platforms as one of the few pure play crypto companies to list in the US. This marks the company's second attempt at going public. A prior merger with a special purpose, or a SPAC, collapsed in late 2022 amid regulatory challenges. All right. So this is a CEO talking. To realize our vision, we need to forge relationships with governments. We need to work with policymakers, because if we want this to work for mainstream, it's got to work in mainstream society, and you need to have those rules of the road. Now, there was talk earlier this year of a bill going through, or getting ready to go to the House for the adoption of a stable coin, right? Some people were calling this, what was it, the U.S. stable coin or something like that, the U.S. DC or digital coin or something like that. It's basically what the banks want to implement. So, I don't know if I don't know too much about crypto, to be honest. I know the stable coins is what a lot of people want to get at least introduced, as far as, regulation and everything like that. But I don't know what the fascination is with stable coins. So I never personally got into stable coins myself. I just don't understand it, or I just don't understand the whole crypto thing. I know Bitcoin, everyone knows Bitcoin, everyone knows XRP or Ethereum. Those are things that have I suppose some use cases, especially XRP, in my opinion. But the whole U.S. stablecoin thing, for there to be an actual bill going through the House or being worked on to eventually get there and, get signed into law and et cetera, that could be a huge tailwind for crypto. That could be a huge tailwind for the industry. So baby steps, I don't know if any of those, meme coins and everything else is going to really do anything, but at least from a, strategic level, from a higher level, I could see, stable coins being a big deal, so Circle is here to stay. The crypto industry is enjoying a newfound political favor under a friendly U.S. administration. The stablecoin sector specifically has been ramping up on the expectation that Congress will pass stablecoin legislation this summer. Wall Street analysts say it could grow tenfold over the next 5 years, creating a $1 trillion market opportunity. All right. So those companies, again, Coinbase, Mara Holdings, Riot Platforms, and now Circle. All right. So if anyone wants to try and take advantage of that, potential opportunity over the next 5 years, those are the companies that are involved in all of this. All right. So that's pretty much about it for Circle, their IPO. Had a really good IPO. So shout out to anyone that got in on their IPO. All right. So I'm going to check the chat. We're going to look at the poll. We're going to do a market update, and then we'll close out the stream. All right. Let's see. So we got some chats. Let's see what we got. A path to retirement. Hey, appreciate that. Let's see. It's a Wealthy Life says he will be nibbling at Tesla at 250. All right. He is down $67,000 today, just for Tesla. All right. Let's see. What else have we got here? Citizen of the Year is here. He says, when should I hop on? Probably a little later when you get back. All right, sir. We already spoke, but when you get back, we'll talk again. All right. Padre joined. All right. He says Palantir is going to be $1 trillion company. I'm backing that. I'm definitely backing that. I hope it does. Even if it takes a couple of years, I'm backing that. I don't even think it's going to take that long. I think it might be maybe like 2 years, maybe even less than that. I know that's, that's way, way out there to say something like that. But the amount of growth that Palantir is going to have, in my opinion, is going to be backed by all the finance sectors that adopt Palantir. It's going to be, further government contracts, not with the United States, but other countries. You already had NATO that took them, that adopted them. You're going to have anywhere that the United States military is operating, you're going to have, and they have partnerships. Again, I mentioned the Five Eye partners. That's, New Zealand, Canada, Australia, and I forget the United States and the UK. It won't be far-fetched for them to start adopting Palantir, or maybe they already did. And just for people's awareness, the Five Eyes is basically an organization. It's a treaty, not a treaty. It's an organization, basically an agreement between these countries to basically spy, on some of their biggest rivals, i.e. China, i.e. Russia, right? So I could see them all using Palantir because Palantir is an intelligence based software. So again, really, really interesting. All right. So It's a Wealthy Life says Google and Meta owns the attention platform. That's true. We might be moving past the whole attention thing. I think so. Yeah, we'll see. I can go on and on about that, but I think the attention platform is big. But I mean, even Meta is kind of like dying. I barely even check Facebook myself these days. Gabe says, hey, Gabe, welcome back, first off. So if I wanted to start from $1,000 to generate some income to pay bills with, can I start off with Misty, NVIDIA, and Ulti, and then all the distribution just for fun in XDTE and SpyEye? Ooh, that's a tough one, man. I honestly, if you're not in the Discord, I would recommend you join the Discord and post that question because that is a loaded question I can't answer on this stream. Not because I don't want to answer it, but because I can go into it. But yeah, post that question in and I'll kind of provide some thoughts. All right. Phil M. Div Investor. Hey, welcome. Buying more Tesla through WiMAX. Money bags. Awesome. All right, guys, let's check the poll. All right. So for the poll, the question was, do you think Tesla will head back to lows of $230 into the $230 range? All right. 44% of you said, yeah, Tesla is cooked. Thanks, Elon. 56% of you said, nope, it'll hold steady above 270. All right. I think we will have more clarity come tomorrow. What happens, right? Tomorrow's Friday. Bad things typically don't happen on Fridays, but we will see what happens. I could honestly see Tesla, if Elon Musk continues this, he already has that, letter from all these, prominent investors, not hedge funds, but institutional investors that manage pensions and things like that. They already sent him a letter and says that he needs to knock his crap off and that he needs to focus on Tesla, right? They're investing in Tesla. They have people's money invested into Tesla and that they're responsible for. So the board already talked to him, I'm sure. And I know that they're probably not happy that this dude is continuing to, stay 1 foot into politics while with 1 foot out. So it probably won't be long before they say, all right, enough is enough. Either you get out of this whole realm of your businesses, just leave, and we can hire a new CEO for Tesla or whatever, right? I can see something like that eventually happening. So awesome. We're going to end that poll here. Lacho says, hello from Texas. Well, hello from Thailand, sir. All right. So moving into the markets, and then we'll move into the portfolio updates, and then we'll close out the stream. All right, guys, we are at minute 50. So we're a little over. I was hoping that the new stream would not have lasted as long as it did. All right. So we have the S&P 500 down 53 basis points. Okay. So we already know what the NASDAQ did, down 80 basis points. This is honestly not bad compared to what happened, but this is right here is when the whole Trump China thing kind of kicked off, right? And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, hey, China's, speaking with the president speaking with China, we should be good. All right. They had positive talks. We are back, baby. We're going up. And then the whole thing with Elon Musk and Tesla came out and then just sent everything just tumbling back down. Is what it is. Excuse me. All right. Bitcoin's not doing so hot right now. Bitcoin it's actually looks like it's starting to crater and fall back. All right. Hopefully we don't go under, 100K. We just recently hit all-time highs not too long ago. $111. And now it's just been cratering ever since. I'm not a Bitcoin guy. All right. Again, I don't know too much about it. I just, buy it and just forget about it and set it, forget about it. For long-term holders, this is not a big deal. For traders or anything like that, probably a bigger deal, right? You still have people who are holding, shares of MSTR. And by extension of that, you have MSII that just came out, and you have, Misty, you have MST from Defiance, and you have IMST from Bitwise, right? It's very, very popular cover call ETF, stock ETF, or stock or ETFs out there. Hopefully Bitcoin does not go back below 99. If that happens, I really think there will be a bigger sell-off happening at that point. So we will see what happens. But again, that's kind of discerning right there. I can't imagine this being related to anything about Trump and Musk. Like this, if anything, should have spiked even higher because of the whole China president talk. Right. But again, we will see. Let's see. Moving on, we have gold. All right. Still the best performing asset year to date. It looks like it's just killing it. We had a lot of outflows for a little bit, but now it looks like people are starting to get in. And I wish I included it in the stream, but we have NEOS that just launched their brand new ETF for gold, right? It's a gold income ETF, ticker IAUI. I will be coming out with a new video later today if I can get around to it to cover that. But yeah, that a lot of people were waiting on that particular fund, right? It's gold exposure. So you're going to have probably little less exposure to the stock market, U.S. equities, things like that, by investing into a NEOS, gold income ETF. So anyone who's waiting for that, I know a couple of people were, but anyone who is waiting for that, it is out now. All right. So we have, again, gold being one of the best performing assets year to date. If we look at Bitcoin, it looks like it's starting to drop down, sitting at 8.56%, whereas gold is at 26.85%. And I think silver is actually doing really, really well. I don't cover silver, but yeah, silver is doing really, really well. So they're up 20.6%. All right. They had that massive dip, Liberation Day. And it looks like it's just been climbing and climbing and climbing. So again, shout out to anyone who's been buying gold. Or buying silver, excuse me. Yeah, whoever got in on this dip, man, 13%, up 13%, up 17% or from Liberation Day to now. Wow, that's interesting. U.S. 10-year Treasury still very elevated, but it's been coming down a bit. All right, we're sitting at 4.38%. We haven't seen this in a while. Everything's been kind of elevated for pretty much the whole month. So it's nice to see this come down. For VNQ, we use this as the weather gauge for REITs. We are still hovering below $90. Okay, hopefully we can get above $90. That would be really nice. We'd start to see an actual recovery for REITs. They've just been kind of hovering, like trading flat almost. They haven't really been doing a whole lot. Year to date, it is up 1.30%, and I believe the S&P 500 is in the green as well, 1.21%, and we have the Nasdaq, which is up 2.73%. So almost just shy of missing our all-time highs. All right, so hopefully we get back up to those. Let's see what else we got. So we have some chats. Just going to take a look at the chats. So Latra says, I'll catch a replay. Bought a bunch of BitX today. Took profit, put it into crash, or took profit off crash, I'm assuming. So awesome. Let's see what else we got. So SD7 Sango says, I want to say you were right. You said you thought Bitcoin was going to have a pullback, and it did. I think we all kind of figured that out, like it was going to have a pullback. I don't want to say I was 100% correct. It seems like anytime anything reaches 100%, or a new all-time high, that there's going to be a pullback. Again, this year is going to be really, really rocky. I posted a video way back. I think it was like November or January timeframe, and I said 2025 is going to be a hell of a year. Like this could be a hell of a year to make a lot of money for a lot of different investors. Now, especially with all this tariff stuff, it's going to be even more rockier. But there will be opportunities. There will definitely be opportunities. Again, if you're a DCA buy the dip kind of person, anytime we have these big pullbacks like we had today, this would be a prime opportunity to pick up a couple shares. All right. Padre said there's a guy who's been pounding the table about gold and silver in some Discord groups. Yeah, I wonder who that is. Padre has been pounding the table and breaking the table and throwing chairs at walls saying to buy gold. And that's all he's been saying is buy gold. He has not changed as long as I've known Padre in the Discord, right? In the Discord group. He's been saying buy gold, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. He's shown gold coins. I think you even shown some of your silver holdings that you had. And just absolutely crazy. Yeah, he called it, absolutely called it from the get-go. Let's see. Mark says Florida is passing a bill that will allow people to use gold as currency, same as cash, in July 2026. That is crazy. You're gonna walk around like a little bit, like a dime bag of little gold chips, and like you're gonna have to start clipping them. That's gonna be interesting. I know for a while, especially on Craigslist, people were using gold to buy. I don't even know if I can mention it on this stream without getting in trouble, but basically weapons. They were using gold to buy things that you're not supposed to buy gold with. So that was one case of how to use gold. There was still a bartering system, but yeah, gold is interesting. You have Peter Schiff. Actually, I just watched I didn't watch the whole thing, but Michael Saylor, he just did this thing in Las Vegas for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin Expo or whatever you want to call it. But Michael Saylor came out, he said, hey, sorry, Pete, right? Sorry, Pete. Bitcoin's going to do better than gold. And for those who don't know, Peter Schiff is a gold bull. He's always been a gold bull. He's actually, him and Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Peter Schiff has a ton of great stuff too. He's written a couple of books as well. I think he wrote, I forget. I think that wasn't a book. I can't remember the specific book he wrote. But they always talk about the monster from Jekyll Island, basically the Federal Reserve, and how taking gold, Nixon taking the U.S. off the gold standard was basically it was a sign that the United States was headed for doom, because we could just print money, we can just create more debt, and it would create a bubble. And it looks like it's starting to pass, right? But yeah, Peter Schiff, just a perma gold bull. If you guys want to check him up on YouTube, he's a really interesting guy. I mean, some of this stuff he says is like way out of left field, like conspiracy level stuff, but it is fascinating. And it looks like silver, gold, precious metals, they're having their year. They're absolutely having their year. All right, let's see. All right, so we're going to move on to the portfolio updates, guys, and then we'll close out the stream. All right, so for Robinhood, this is the high yield portfolio. All right, you guys know this one probably the best. But this is no changes here, except I did purchase 12 new shares of NVDW and 12 new shares of PLTW. All right. Just wanted to take advantage of that dip by a couple shares. So I think that all in all is about like a little over $1,100 spent on these shares. No changes from everything else. Ondas is starting to have a rip. All right. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Ondas is actually starting to do really, really well for like a penny stock. It's just been climbing and climbing. And then I think I saw it as high as like, it was an alert that it was as high as like $1.90. And then it had a big dip, right? Of course, people selling off and everything, but Ondas is doing really well. For my most speculative trade, I think it's doing really well. So again, it's a Palantir partner. They do counter drone technology. Again, this is not advice to go and buy it. It's very highly speculative and it could crash any minute. All right. We also have Chippy, no changes there. Semiconductor play ETF, XPay, XETE falling along with the market. I am now of the camp that these probably actually XPay will probably have a better recovery. It already does have a better recovery over XDTE. I actually want to do a video on this because XPay has actually been really, really phenomenal. XDTE leaves more to be desired. Really disappointed with XDTE. But again, it is a 0 DTE cover call ETF. You're going to have that capped upside. You're not going to recover one for one with the market. But it has paid consistently, and I'm only down $6,700 out of a possible $70,000. So not too bad, all right? Not too bad. Buying power, margin buffer, all that stuff looking pretty good. Again, I'm almost at that 100K mark. I probably should just deploy another $500 and make it an even 100. But I have 38% of margin buffer, okay? 38,000 I'd have to burn through or see a market decline before I get a margin call. So we're doing okay here. All right, so let's look at the other portfolio on M1 Finance. This is where I keep a bulk of the other stuff. Let's see. What's going on here? Oh, that's why. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, there we go. I always scare myself because you can't stay logged in on M1 Finance. You always have to log back in. But it said incorrect password. I'm like, oh, man, don't tell me I just got hacked again. Not again, but you get it. Anyways, here we go. No new changes to this portfolio. No new buys, nothing. All right, just kind of going with the waves of the market and just letting it do its thing. REITs, again, they're just trading flat at this point. They're not really increasing in value or anything. Technology, ETF, VGT, again, we're very close to recovery, but we'll see what happens, over these next couple of weeks. I would love for this to be fully recovered and then, and then not be so worried about it. BDCs, nothing new here. Again, I don't really cover the BDCs as much on this channel. And then crypto ETF is just IBIT iShares, just an ETF that has Bitcoin. So there was some new cryptocurrency ETFs that did come out recently, some for XRP, Solana, and then of course you have Ethereum, right? So I thought that was really interesting. These new ETFs that just came out. You have a long one. You have like a 2x levered XRP, which is crazy. But we'll see if that actually affects the price action of XRP, because this has actually been kind of like hovering as well. This hasn't really been doing much. But I mean, I don't really invest in crypto. This was kind of a FOMO buy. This was when XRP was having a huge run up. So then I bought it. But yeah, nothing really exciting there. What's up, Tech Echo? So I see we have Tech Echo. I don't think I've seen you on the channel before, so welcome. But I'm sorry, man. I think you just caught the end of the stream because we are pretty much at the top of the hour. And I think I'm going to have to call it, guys. I think I'm going to have to call it. I don't want to waste your guys' time. I am out of finance news. We covered a lot in this stream. All right. We just completed the portfolio updates. So with that being said, guys, I really appreciate everybody participating and joining in on the chat. I appreciate your guys' support as always, because without you guys, this channel would not have anything. This channel, this stream would not be anything without your guys' support. So again, I really do appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great evening wherever you are in the world, or a great afternoon or morning. All right. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next stream, in the next video. You guys